And we haven't done this in a while, Bob, but I think we should just throw out a Q&A session where we're letting all of DraftKings fill up for our little big money draft we got coming here along, which I'm excited to be in, by the way. But, Bob, we haven't done a Q&A session in a while, and I figured, hey, let's do one now till we get it fired up and see what kind of questions we get fired at us.
I think that's fair. And I think I'd like to just kick out the first question.
Shoot.
And, looking at rankings and things, we look at quarterback, and we talked about this very briefly in a couple of the episodes that we just rolled out. Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the number one rated quarterback on our list, is the number one rated quarterback on many people's lists. And, one of the things that we say is that looking at value and saying, you can get a guy like you can get a guy
Blank on me. I just saw you do a verbal part.
You can get a guy like Kyler Murray or Jordan Love a little bit later, and they're going to be going down in your rankings a little bit. But talk to us about why Josh Allen, at the tail end of the second, beginning of the third, might be a good idea.
Well, I mean, you know that at the end of the day, Buffalo is going to be a winning team. And you know that they're going to get there through their offense. So Allen is, in a lot of ways, the highest floor that you can get. So we saw last year Mahomes change their entire offense into running the ball, and Mahomes showing that he was willing to check down. Allen doesn't do that. Allen will throw it over the top and throw it through you if he has to. And he's very good at it. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the way that the Bills are constructed, sure, they have this issue of who's going to be their actual number one receiver. And it's a valid question. It's pretty safe to say Kincaid is probably their leading target receiver as a unit. But when you look at it and go, we haven't had this much unknown about this team in a long time, at least by design. We had it when Gabe Davis would go down, like who's going to run over the top, and Stephon Diggs was losing a flat tire and all that. And we look at what they did now was essentially they got rid of those two to leave room for the growth of the young guys. Mm-hmm. And McDermott, in his history up there, has shown no reason not to trust him. And we might not have the Bills receivers ranked super high. Part of this is there's no clear evidence on who's going to step up into that.
It's kind of like a reverse CJ Stroud in a way.
It is. But see, the thing is, we know Allen can carry the offense. I believe that as soon as we get clear information, I believe this will happen throughout August, that we're going to see on our rankings as well as overall the Buffalo receivers skyrocketing. Because if it becomes clear what their total breakdown will be instead of just kind of everyone's the same, we will see an elevation in the value of who it is. And then the whole question comes down to is, will the market be right on who they value overall?
And the thing,
but you're not going to know that until camp starts.
Yeah, the thing that I wanted to bring up too is that, everybody's valuing, for good reason. He had 410 PPR points last year, 524 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns. The touchdown mark ties Jalen Hurts. There's nobody even remotely in terms of quarterbacks. Next closest quarterback was Josh Dobbs, who had 6 touchdowns. But when we look at it from a perspective, Lamar Jackson actually had the most yards out of a quarterback at 821 yards rushing. But when we look at his fantasy points, he was clearly 40 points ahead of Jalen Hurts last year. Mm-hmm. Almost 60 points ahead of Dak Prescott, and almost 80 points ahead of Lamar Jackson. And so with that, we think that maybe those rushing numbers won't be the same. Maybe he's not going to get 15 touchdowns. He still threw for 29 touchdowns last year. And that was good enough for about 5th overall in terms of total touchdowns thrown last year. Let me check that. 5th overall in terms of total touchdowns thrown, tied with Tua at 29 touchdowns. The guys above him, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott. Now, we talk a lot about value on our show, talk a lot about opportunities. Josh Allen seems like the type of player that we're drafting at its highest value ever. But he's one of those players in the vein of CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill or Christian McCaffrey that most likely is going to return that same value again, regardless of what wide receivers are in that room.
I think his fantasy equivalent is Kelsey. Remember, Kelsey just kept progressively getting higher and higher and higher, and Kelsey kept delivering. But the difference between Allen and Kelsey is this. Allen's nowhere near close to aging out. Right. Kelsey's going to be on a pitch count this year. Now, granted, they're going to use him in the red zone.
More so, Joe, to talk about Josh Allen is that when you're outside of injury, what will have happened to Josh Allen that he would return that value again?
Somehow they trade for Jonathan Taylor. That's about it. Until they get a real running back there, Josh Allen's going to keep carrying the world. And they don't have one. I understand people like Cook, whatever. The reality is until they get a real running back, Josh Allen's putting up these rushing touchdowns. It's just happening. Josh Allen also has the mentality of he likes hitting people. You're never going to see with Josh Allen the Cam Newton. I stopped on the 6-inch line and got lit up. Josh Allen wants to kill you when you're 5 yards deep in the end zone.
They want him to stop doing that. They want him to stop doing that. But,
they can want whatever they want. That's what he wants to do, and he's the quarterback.
But so I want to bring this up because it's an interesting thought. We talked last year about the Bills. Basically, Stephon Diggs basically disappeared at one point in time in the season, and that was because of coordinator change. They had a coordinator change, and new stuff was happening. But from that point, I can't remember exactly where that coordinator change happened, but I'm just going to go basically from week 12 on because the schedule is pretty juicy. Philly, KC, Dallas, Chargers, New England, Miami, right? Mm-hmm. We're looking at a guy in Josh Allen who threw 51 times, 42 times, 15 times, 21 times, 30 times, 38 times. And in that stretch, he scored fantasy points 40.7, 21.5, 16.2, 26, 22, and 25. But in that same regard, when we look at where that coordinator shift happened, and if you could, Joe, could you look up when that coordinator shift happened?
It's week 7.
Week 7. Great. Because guess what happened as of week 7? Going into week 7, he had 4 rushing touchdowns. After week 7, all of them, right? Starting week 12, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2. He's putting the ball in his own hands progressively over the course of the season. He thinks he's the only guy on this team you can trust him for a good degree. That's kind of true. But I want to ask you this question.
I just want to finish this point. We did this live earlier about the Colts, and we're getting shade thrown at us about how can you hate on Pittman? How can you hate on Pittman? Because when you're the offensive coordinator and you have a guaranteed touchdown machine, you don't waste it. Guess what? Tush Push puts it in. Josh Allen puts it in. You're not going to go to your third option of trying to force it into Pittman whenever you could just go run it right in. Running is always easier than passing. It's a fact of the game, and Josh Allen's one of the best at it.
Yeah, and when I want to look up red zone usage for just a minute here because this will kind of.
He is their red zone offense. He's their middle of the field offense. He's their pin deep offense. He's the best quarterback statistically in the league. And the remarkable part, and I just want to throw this out here as you're looking to solve it. The remarkable part about Allen to me is there's not consistent garbage time in his life. He's not Blake Bortlesing this going against prevent defenses. He's doing this when his team is either in the lead or needs to do it, which is why, to answer your question, the initial, could anything ever slow him down if they had a real running back? But they don't. And until then, Josh Allen isn't getting slowed down. Also being said, I'll never do a team where I draft a quarterback in the first 4 rounds, so he's never going to be on my teams, but I understand why you would. That being said, we're going to hit a little quick TV break so we can line up because we got a draft coming at you in less than 2 minutes.
So as you pull that up, Joe, one of the things that's fun to look at when we compare Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen is that Jalen Hurts exclusively, he had 15 total touchdowns, 13 of them were inside the 5. Josh Allen had 8 within the 5. So what this tells me
is half of them are outside the 5, and he just breaks them.
Is that he is way more comfortable running it when there's more space. And Jalen Hurts has come from that tush push, which we said a couple weeks ago could definitely be hurt by Saquon Barkley's presence, because Saquon Barkley is the type of running back that can put it in from the 10, can put it in from
So that's right. So let's set up. We'll be back with you guys in 10 seconds on the other side.
Welcome to Local Football Flavor, connecting the fan bases of the NFL.
So here we are back, Bob, 50 seconds away from opening up our draft board. And oh, look at that. The 6th spot. Your favorite spot, Bob.
See, if anybody's been following us over the course of the last couple of weeks and couple of months, you will have heard me say that one of my favorite spots to draft in is that 5th, 6th spot. Still gives you a chance at a phenomenal wide receiver talent without reaching for anybody. On the back half, it gives you a chance at an elite rushing option if you do go wide receiver in your first round. And then you basically have pick of the litter in your 3rd round of guys that have a lot of value as well. So I am going to pull up some of the draft rankings here so we have it and we can reference it here. I would like ADP on that.
So, Bob, I absolutely love this spot. We're now on the clock. We are live.
All right, let's get it, dude. And for those watching, we usually will put when we look at our rankings and when we see we do compare a lot of different things. We take where the money is at in gambling as one of our highest points, and then what do the pros believe are going to be expected, point scorers, and how is this team going to score over the course of the year? How many wins are they going to have? So you'll see us passing on a lot of people, and you might say, that's curious why, but we will explain why we take who we take. Early Justin Jefferson.
Right now we have 2 players left on the board here. Ahmad just went. The pick is going to be Breece Hall.
Breece Hall's the guy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this sets us into a tricky situation, though.
Would have liked to have Ahmad, though. To be totally honest, I would rather have Ahmad.
I would have rather have had Ahmad at Amon-Ra at 6 overall, but you'll notice that we passed on Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is a player. When we talk about the Bengals are a team that goes how Joe Burrow goes, and Joe Burrow, if healthy, that pick of Jamar Chase could be a really amazing pick for whoever picks him this year, but he has to come back healthy, and we're just not going to bet our first round pick in a guy that we're not sure is going to be completely 1,000% healthy to chuck the ball down the field to Jamar Chase. Now, granted,
there's just a lot of question marks in Cincinnati. People don't want to talk about that, but it's true.
And Jamar Chase, again, fantastic wide receiver. He did return wide receiver 11 last year, and that's just not good enough for us in the first round. We do not want somebody who returned wide receiver 11 in the first round.
Yeah, and Bob, where do we have Chase rated overall on our board?
Chase for us,
it's like 19th, right?
Let me look. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not crazy. He's ranked 9th. He's ranked as our 9th best wide receiver. So, had the opportunity not been there for Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson, we would have went A.J. Brown over Jamar Chase.
Yes, we would have.
As far as that's true as well.
We have A.J. Brown rated 9th overall.
The only time that we would really take Jamar Chase is if we happen to be at the 12th hole and Jahmyr Gibbs went, and AJ Brown went, and Puka Nacua went, and all those guys went.
Yeah, because we do have Chase ahead of Wilson, but not Puka.
Correct. So there goes Barkley. There goes Barkley off the board, and I am more in line with Saquon Barkley this year than our rankings suggest. I think that he's going to have a good season on a good team, but again, the tush push is always a factor. So I can see
that's the thing.
I can see people not wanting him. And now at the 11-12 turn, this is where we usually see a combination of Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor. Again, there it is again. This typically happens. Again, this is best ball. Eventually we will get around to redraft leagues because redraft leagues, really start to materialize more so in that late July, early August.
But having money on the table is way better than having a sleeper one where there's no stakes. There's no way around that.
So I think what's going to happen.
Not to mention we got a lot of money on the table like we do in this one. This one should be as true as any of the ones we've done so far due to the amount of the buy-in. So, like I said, we are excited for this one. And you look at it, it's being fairly true. We don't have any crazy, whoa, what the hell was that type picks yet. For the record, our pick might be considered on this next one. But for those of you who've been watching the show, you know who it's going to be. I take the same person in the second round every single round, regardless of where I'm at. And I'm not doing it this time. That's a major problem, Bob.
Well, it's not because Travis Etienne's next up on the board.
Well, Etienne's next on the list. Henry we have rated as our 5th rated player.
And Derrick Henry is one of those players that I think people are coming around on, and you're going to see it as you start drafting. Derrick Henry is going to be drafted in that mid-second round, early second
And this is going to be Etienne.
You're no longer going to be able to get Derrick Henry in most leagues at the back half of the second round.
The second round. Yeah, people are figuring it out. But as we said earlier, if you haven't watched the Jacksonville episode, we have Etienne as the 8th rated player in this draft. So to get him in the second round, sure, it's not as good as the 5th best player, but it's still having 2 top 10 players on your roster when you just got him at pick, what is that, 27. So obviously a good thing here. So, Bob, our next one comes around to 30. The following one after that is going to be 43 in terms of picks overall.
So, typically I do like to come out with a wide receiver, especially in best ball, coming out of the first 2-3 rounds. We haven't done that yet, but we gave ourselves a really good start with 2 elite options. Now, people say, take a look at strength of schedule, and look at projections for this end of the season as it comes, and you want to build stacks of players, especially for that back half. It's not, you want to get off to a hot start and then, end it really well. So we want to look for players that are going to do that. Drake London's probably not one of those guys. I'm glad that he went.
No, certainly not one of those guys. So, Bob, in terms of our rankings, the next 2 best players.
I got those rankings up there. Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to be picking 30th overall. There goes Pacheco, whose ADP was at 30, was one of our best on the board. We still have a top 10 player left on our board that we can get in the 3rd round. I think that's what we do. Lean into the rankings.
So we've got Nico just went off the board. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. All right. So the next up on our list is Debo, and I think that's the pick. Who else?
He's not going to come back around to us.
Yeah.
So this is Bob something we want to talk about. ADP says that Debo should be going the beginning of the 4th round, but we have him ranked as the 7th best player in this draft. So yes, technically we reached a little bit, but we got our guy. All 3 of our picks are top 10 in our round.
Here's the thing: it's not really a reach on there because when you take a look and you just look at the PPR rankings, and I'm just going to go based off of Fantasy Pros because I do like to get onto that list there. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a reach, but he was going to go in the second half of this round.
He wasn't coming back to us.
He's a player that we would rather have over Cooper Kupp, although we do think Cooper Kupp is going to have a pretty good season. But we do have him ranked higher than Cooper Kupp. The next guy we'll probably target if he's available is DK Metcalf. That's another player.
That's exactly who I'm looking at. Yeah.
That's another player that we think is going to do really well. If he's not there, Zay Flowers is probably going to be our next option. If we can't find,
I would go Devontae Smith before Zay Flowers.
Yeah. So Devonta Smith, I'm banking on Devontae actually already going. I don't.
He probably will.
Yeah.
Speak of the devil, there it goes.
And that guy's off to a pretty good start. Go back up, scroll up through his draft so far.
So he has Garrett Wilson, Harrison, and Devontae. That's pretty chalky.
You only really need 2 of those guys to pan out, and
well, you start 3. You start 3 in DraftKings.
Yeah,
you start 3 receivers, 2 running backs.
Like I said, with Marvin Harrison a long time ago, if I'm buying in on Marvin Harrison, I do want to kind of sandwich him with 2 really good wide receivers, and that's what that guy did.
That is true. And if it hits amazing. I mean, that's just the way it is. There goes
so he's off our board. So Zay Flowers is probably going to be coming around to us.
See, Zay Flowers is the next best receiver. Not fighting that. But
we could also look into the Trey McBrides. We have him as a top tight end, but we do have Evan Ingram in our back pocket there.
I think we can get Ingram in the
Lamar Jackson is our second-ranked quarterback. So if you're going off value and board, this could be the time we take Lamar early, even though you're really not interested.
No, because I'd rather use the pick on the tight end. I really like the builds that we're doing where we get Herbie late or Lawrence.
Well, there goes Lamar.
Yeah. We can go Flowers. I think that would be a little bit early, but we can go Flowers if that's right. He's our best receiver on the board. There's no way around that.
Is there a guy that you like instead at the running back position or at the tight end position? Do you want to go Trey McBride?
I would like to try to thread the needle of Flowers and then Ingram. I think that would be ideally how I'd want to do 4 and 5 if we can make that happen.
Yeah, Ingram is not going to go before our next pick.
No, Ingram's not going before 4. I mean, at our 5th pick.
Even then, I don't think with the way this board is looking right now.
I also don't think we're getting Ingram at our 6th round pick though.
But yeah, so I think that Zay Flowers will be the pick if he is there. And now you'll notice that by taking Breece and Travis Etienne fairly early, we're passing on guys like Rachaad White. We're passing on guys like Josh Jacobs. We don't have to consider that. Michael Pittman's a guy that,
for the record, I love Flowers infinitely more than Pittman.
We think is a little bit, but if Zay Flowers would have went, I probably would have thought about Michael Pittman. I don't know. I would have thought about it.
If he would have went, I probably would have made an argument for, even though it's early and we might be able to get him to. Yeah, long story short is getting Flowers is nothing wrong. Pickens is a risk. So here's the thing with George Pickens. I want to break this down for the whole Steelers offense overall. Those of us who watched the Colts episode, you saw that I mentioned the Colts do not play a lot of offensive snaps. They have a very slow offense. The Steelers have an incredibly slow offense under the last 5 years. And Russell Wilson, as a player, has had the slowest offense. So you look at that and say Pittsburgh's clearly trying to run the ball, they're building an offensive line. But George Pickens is the only receiver there. I mean, it is the argument of CeeDee Lamb, just without Dak and an actual running game. So Pickens, you can easily see take off. I get it. We just don't believe in it because the market doesn't believe in it. But I see the narrative of how it could happen. Bob, I want to take Ingram.
I think you're taking him too early, but fair enough. You always take him too early.
I don't take him too early. His ADP is 3 picks from now.
And that's fair, but those players already, Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta already went, I believe, to those players up there. And that guy took 2 quarterbacks, so I don't think that, they're considering that.
So the next pick is 67. I'm going to push for Mostert. And this is a lot because it is a best ball league. We have Mostert as the 18th player. His ADP is 69. We'd have him at pick 67, so right in range with it if he's still there. That would be the direction I would want to go for. gives us a third running back. And in general, I believe more in taking stabs on rookie receivers than rookie running backs. It's just the way that the league has been adapted. It tends to be a better pick. And there's a guy we were talking about before, Bob, in Tank Dell, going before Hollywood Brown. To me, that is insane.
I mean, like I said earlier, I think Tank is gonna be the guy that probably shows up on a week-to-week basis a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's a seventh-round pick.
Hollywood Brown, again, this whole Kansas City wide receiver situation is a very curious thing. Hollywood Brown, Rishi Rice, Xavier Worthy, three individuals similar to how we have in Houston. We know that Patrick Mahomes can throw for 5,000 yards. We know that he can throw for, not to mention Travis Kelce's there as well, and Isaiah Pacheco. I'm not really wanting to invest in Kansas City early.
Except for Pacheco.
I'd rather go, except for Pacheco, yeah. I'd rather go after a guy maybe like Xavier Worthy or Rishi Rice in a round or two later than Hollywood Brown, and try to pull up a little bit of value right there because, Hollywood Brown, is he going to be infinitely better than Malik Neighbors? I don't know. But is Malik Neighbors on a worse team? Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I would have rather had T. Higgins potentially at value if Joe Burrow ends up coming back and being elite. T. Higgins is a guy that's going to be a big beneficiary at that, and I'd rather have T. Higgins in the 6th than Jamar Chase in the 1st. Just looking at why that's there. Again, that Kyle Pitts pick could have been Ingram. You're absolutely right. If we're looking at the board here, Joe, we have 2 wide receivers. We probably should get another one.
See, I like Mostert here.
I know you like. I'm
a running back guy. You know that at heart.
I know you like Mostert there, and I know.
And this is where we have a couple of running backs.
I know you're putting Lad McConkey in your back pocket, but I don't.
Sure am.
I also don't want to forget what we said about Christian Kirk. I also don't want to forget about that. So.
I get that, but we got to go for rankings. You get a top 20 player in the 6th round.
Okay, but again, you're boxing yourself into the same box you're always in the 5th, 6th, 7th round.
Well, I understand that. It's a box that is yet to break, though, because I've been getting the guys.
Right, but you've been getting the guys when the guy – I agree that Mostert's fine there, but you're going to lock yourself in the Lad McConkey in the 7th, and you're really taking yourself out of a lot of players that potentially could be a little bit more or a little bit better because your start is almost always consistently the same. And playing.
And you want to try to stretch McConkey out to 91 overall?
He's typically not going like that, though, Joe. I've done a couple sleeper drafts. I've done a couple ESPNs, and Lad McConkey is typically going in this area, early 7th round.
And so this goes back to what you were saying before about Harrison. You wanted to stack him with 2 great receivers because you had a little worry about him. My thought is if I'm stacking a receiver, I might as well do it with a better passing quarterback, have 2 better receivers on the roster.
I'm there.
And get 5 rounds of value. Lad McConkey is going to be the target leader in San Diego with Herbert throwing him the ball.
I'm absolutely on the same page as you with that. But one of the things that, is to think about here, you see a lot of tight ends and running backs go off the board because, Mostert, Swift, Stevenson, Jones, and Montgomery are all part of a range of players whose outcomes can vary drastically. We saw Mostert put up a supreme amount of touchdowns last year. And there's not much there's not much about Miami that says that that's going to change very much, that distribution of time is going to change. Granted, Devon A-Chain is probably going to break off a couple more runs. But he's probably going to be on a count at some point in time. So there goes Zach Moss, another player that we do often like to invest in.
We do.
In the 7th round. And he's ranked – we have him ranked in our top 10 of running backs to finish the season. Granted, if he does play the full season, which, that's yet to be figured out in training camp if they're going to have Chase Brown there and whatnot. But it's definitely something to think about. Another guy coming off the board that we like in James Conner. James Conner is just absolutely, if he's not hurt, he's absolutely the type of player that you want.
Oh, he is.
He's finishing the season, oftentimes, like I said, oftentimes hurt. But the guy went off for 1,000 yards last year. He gets touchdowns, when needed. And it's just, he got 9 touchdowns last year, and you're getting a guy with 9 touchdowns getting over 1,000 yards. Granted, they did get Trey Benson, probably going to take a little bit of work off, but I always tend to fall in, if I'm taking it back in the 7th or 8th round, that bringing in that young guy, is going to benefit the older guy, because what they sense in James Conner, his age, is he's getting up there, he's getting injured, and it's always nice to have some downtime, always nice to have some rest. Jalen Warren, I think that's a little bit of a stretch on Jalen Warren there in the 7th round.
That's where Najee goes, not Warren.
Najee will follow suit. You're going to see Najee come back.
I've been seeing a lot of people in best ball stacking the two of them.
I mean, if you're going to do it, okay, that's fine.
But Bob, I can't tell you, Najee's a guy we don't normally get. It would be 8 picks past his ADP. I think he'd be a reasonable selection. Then we could be done at running back.
You always say that, and that's never true.
It's never true. Because Kendra Miller always comes around.
There's other guys that usually come around.
Well, there he goes anyway.
One of the guys I think we should keep our head on a swivel about is we didn't talk. We missed out on DK Metcalf, and normally we get DK Metcalf, but Jackson Smith, if he's there, will be a guy that I think is worth taking. Or Keon Coleman. One of those two, something's going to come back.
I'd rather lean Coleman, because I think there's a better chance Najigba comes back around.
Doubtful. Where are we at?
Najigba's currently ADP is 103 in DraftKings, and our next round pick, not this one coming up, but the one following, will be 102.
So, Jackson Smith and Keon Coleman are pretty much the same value on Fantasy Pros. Wide receiver 45.
The fantasy pros and DraftKings are different, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I know, but what I'm saying is, once Deontay Johnson is gone off most boards, he's another guy that we usually don't take, but I kind of like him. Jordan Brooks is a player that's pretty polarizing in fantasy circles right now. Is that Dave Canellis went to Carolina? You saw what he did with a pretty inefficient Rashad White. People are
Deontay's the guy I would have taken.
People are projecting.
But I think Coleman's the pick. He's on the board. We got to take him.
2 rookies. I don't really like taking 2 rookie wide receivers. However, if you're going to take 2 rookie wide receivers, these are the 2 situations you want to be in.
2 quarterbacks to have.
These are the 2 quarterbacks to take that chance on. Like I said, Lake Neighbors with Daniel Jones, probably not taking a chance there. Again, Xavier Worthy is another one of the players that could be worth a chance there. But this is
Bob, if we get to Jigba and then pulled out either a Cooks or a Myers, I think we're set.
Cooks would be a nice pull in the.
But that would be in the 10th round, either Cooks or Myers in the 10th, and then quarterback in the 11th.
Typically speaking, we do.
They're starting to go now.
Hold on. Typically speaking, we do like to take. We do like this round to be a quarterback, in the vein of a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. Is he better than Coleman? Probably.
So, Bob, to the right of us, which would be everyone has a quarterback to the right of us. In fact, one guy has 3 of them.
So every
I
team
think
to
that
the right of us.
I think that we go to Jigba and then let the quarterback come to us.
Okay. All right. There goes.
Unless I'm mistaken here, there's plenty of them on the board, including Purdy, Herbert, and Lawrence. We take any of the 3 of them.
Okay.
And Jigba solves the risk of one of those 2 rookies failing.
If he's still there.
Yeah, if the Jigba makes it to us. But this guy has 4 receivers on his team already.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So the Jigba comes to us.
And
then the next pick, like I said, I think the rank is.
And typically, Joe, to tell our audience, we typically don't take Jackson Smith in this 9th round. Typically, this is our Tajay Spears, Brock Purdy kind of territory. But Jackson Smith is one of those players that could definitely show up and show out this next season, depending on how.
Well, here's the other part of it, Bob, is that we have draft knowledge in front of us. Everyone to the right of us has a quarterback, and we have 3 acceptable ones sitting on our lap. So we just made the risk that said, hey, let's upgrade at receiver and then take the risk that one of the 3 quarterbacks, being Purdy, Herbert, or Lawrence, come to us.
And like
Purdy
I said, we normally take
over all of them.
We normally take TK, so it doesn't really set us up to take Jackson Smith. But if you're gonna,
well, that's the other part. Yeah, if you have Metcalf, you don't.
If you're gonna invest in anything, I mean, Seattle is, they supported 2 top 20 wide receivers last year. So there goes Tajay. Okay.
Yeah, they were an exception. They had 2 top 20 receivers, but a quarterback that did nothing in terms of fantasy production. You don't normally see it.
Lobby said he's fading 32-year-old running backs, but here's the thing. Fading 32-year-old running backs that have not gotten a lot of carries in the league is different than fading a 32-year-old running back that has gotten it like 1,000. So that's kind of where we differ on that. And as a 3rd running back on our team with 2 really young, really electric players to fall in and potentially get 10 touchdowns, I think in best ball, I'm okay with that. I really.
You're talking specifically about the Mostert pick?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he's your 3rd one. He's your extra one. Your first pick was Breece Hall. Your second one was.
But again, I do like Jordan Brooks this year based upon the knowledge that we have of Dave Canellis. And I do like the chance that Javonte Williams has. Our rankings don't like it, but I do like the chance that Javonte Williams has to put up a pretty good season this year. Our rankings rank Javonte Williams as the 27th running back here on our board. I think it's fair to say that he probably will end up in top 20. I'd be okay with having him too. But again, he's coming off an injury, so we'll see what happens.
So talking about fading older receivers or older running backs that are banged up, Dobbins is a guy that I'm in love with. Chargers are going to score some points. Yes, they just drafted his rookie from Michigan, so that's a little bit of a conflict, but Dobbins was electric when he was healthy.
But that was a big if. I think despite with the quarterbacks coming off the board, Joe.
Let me ask this way. Would you be more comfortable with Dobbins or Chubb?
I like Chubb more.
See, Bob, I feel a little exposed not taking either Lawrence or Lawrence just went. I have to take Herbert.
You do. He's the last of the.
He's the last of the herd.
Yeah.
But I also feel the team's strong by doing it this way.
I wish we would have gotten Brock Purdy. That would have made it better.
It would have. But, we had 3 quarterbacks on the list. I didn't think any of them were going to get taken. Now, 2 of the 3 did, plus Stafford. We don't have Stafford ranked in that same tier as Purdy, Lawrence, and Herbert. So that's just a little benefit for us that he slips there.
And 2 is already gone. Yeah, we should put together a couple quarterbacks here.
Yeah, so a quick little draft recap for what we're doing here. We got Hall, Etienne, Debo, Flowers, Ingram, Mostert, Conklin, Coleman, Njigba, Herbie.
I love it. You always call him Conklin. I love it.
Try to give you joy, Bob. I'm leaning Miller here.
Okay.
I lean Miller because I honestly believe he's going to be the starter and that Kamara's not going to be in New Orleans on week 1. That's biased.
Yeah, that's super biased. I disagree with that statement like almost 1,000%. But the running backs are getting low. We would like another running back. And
to me, it's Miller or it's Dobbins.
Miller does have a good pathway. Dobbins also has a pretty decent pathway.
Well, Dobbins is the starter. You know how often do we hate on that sentence?
Yeah.
I think it's Miller, though, right?
Up to you. I think it's a dealer's choice. I do like Dobbins. I do like Miller. Dealer's choice.
We might even be able to get Dobbins on the comeback.
Yeah, and you'll notice that this 11th
Mr. Luxury is still on the board. He is.
Round,
We have been doing the Hawk as a luxury pick.
I don't think we can do that right now. I think our room is still. I think we need to build up our rooms a little bit more.
Which one do you want? Receiver?
Well, we
got
five.
Cooks rated as a top 50 player still on the board. I thought
five.
honestly he was already gone.
I thought you were going to take Jacoby Myers there like you normally do.
I normally do, but I'm okay with having Cooks slide to me.
Well,
the other part is there's such a run on running backs, Bob. You look at that tier, that with the exception of Spears, every pick after Spears. So the 10th round down, the only one we had ranked with any value out of that whole group, Zeke, Benson, Edwards, Singletary, Robinson, Dowdle, Brown, and Corum. The only one that we have ranked anywhere near good is Miller. Yeah. And now it's 4 running backs now. In my mind, we can be tapping out.
So where is Dobbins ranked on DraftKings?
On DraftKings, his ADP is 156.
So we can hold out on him. What was Kendre Miller's?
He was 4th out when I picked him.
4th out? Okay. Okay, so here's what I'm suggesting. In this next round, either Cooks or Jerry Jeudy, if they're available.
Yeah, I mean, we have Cooks ranked 32 people higher than Jared Jeudy, so it's going to be Cooks if he can come to us. Mm-hmm. Again, because touchdowns are awesome. Well, they're with the luxury pick of Hawkins anyway. Of the Hawk.
Yeah, I mean, tight ends are going, and that's okay.
That's we got the catch machine.
We'll just go somewhere else.
Sure, we have a little bit exposure on injury risk on Ingram, but it's part of the game. You're gonna have risk somewhere.
Kate Otton's still out there. Tyler Conklin is still out there. Dawson Knox is still out there.
I like getting Knox as a late pick. I think people are so sleeping on him.
Bellinger is still out there as well.
I like getting Bellinger as a very late pick as well. I've been getting him in the last round a lot. He's been my favorite scoop at the end because someone in the Giants is going to score, and it certainly ain't going to be their running backs.
All right. Yeah. There goes Cooks. Damn it. Okay.
Yeah, so close. So to me, it's either Shaheed or Jeudy.
Shaheed already went.
No, Rashid Shaheed's still on the board in New Orleans.
I'm okay with him. I mean, I'm not okay with New Orleans as a team and to go back-to-back New Orleans players.
I'm also okay with Jeudy because we keep taking Bo Nix. And knowing that she went anyway, knowing that we keep taking Bo Nix, having Jeudy, of course, Judy's at Cleveland now. He's still got the
hold on. As we say this, I'm not against New Orleans, but it's just like I keep getting hurt by New Orleans players. Okay, I think Judy's
the pick.
Yeah. So with Baker Mayfield off the board.
So Dobbins is the last player on the entire draft board. Pick 150 is when we'll come around. He's our last player in the top 100. J.K. Dobbins.
It would be nice to get another quarterback too.
In terms of quarterback world, we're now in the tier of Carr, Geno, Bo Nix, Daniel Jones, and Minshew. Yeah. So there's not a lot left, but there's also not a lot of good.
How many quarterbacks does each have around us? Do they all have 2? Can you scroll up to the top?
All right. So the first pick. So here are the teams that only have 1 quarterback. That would be easier. 5th pick overall, 6th pick overall, which is us. 10th pick overall, all have 1. 11th pick overall has 3.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's skate it down here a little bit further.
So again, I might be crazy here, but I'm leaning Dobbins, dude.
I think you are crazy, but that's okay. It's good to be a little bit crazy sometimes.
he could be a touchdown machine.
He could be what we're looking for this late in the draft, coming off consistently being injured. Is it good?
I mean, he could also be a total bust, but he's also a 13th pick. It's not like there's a lot of risk in this.
Is it good to continue to invest in, like Lobby said, with old players?
Oh, he went anyway.
Guy hasn't played. There he goes. Yeah, fair enough. Well, Jerry Jeudy and Dobbins were going in those picks, so that's fair enough.
So a guy that you love is Wicks. We got to make a decision here quick. Is Wicks. We can also go the quarterback route, although I don't love any of them right now. I love Roman Wilson here, but Wicks is the higher ADP.
Let's go Wicks. I love Wicks. Saved by the bell.
Saved by the bell.
Yeah, there's Marshawn Lloyd. A couple more rookies.
So I would lean Roman Wilson or Marvin Mims in the next pick.
There goes Cade Otton. We should have went Cade Otton.
Quarterback on the comeback.
We should have went Cade Otton there. We needed another tight end. But I don't see
the difference between Otton, Conklin, Ertz, Gesicki, or Knox. I don't see a difference in them.
Like I said, one of the biggest things for Cade Otton is he was targeted in the red zone a lot last year.
Oh, yeah. Well, I get these targeted in the red zone. He's a tight end. He should be.
Another one. Let's see where he falls at. If we want to get how many, we probably want to get a couple more wide receivers happening too. Yeah, Dobbins has had a history of injuries. There's nothing to say that he's going to be healthy, but if he is healthy, there's always that but. If he is healthy, he could be the piece that they need. Again, they also have Gus Edwards.
Let me ask you this. This is someone we haven't talked about a lot.
Touchdowns as well.
But Swift has been a disappointment really for the last 3 years. And Herbert always steals touchdowns.
I don't know.
Just throwing it out there.
I don't know how I feel about that.
If you're not good about that, I love taking Roman Wilson all the time.
I'd rather have Khalil Herbert than Wilson.
All right, but he has spoken up.
So there's that.
There's also Algier.
But again, Khalil Herbert is in a situation where he has a lot of competition there. There's Roshan Johnson as well.
Algier doesn't. Algier just is the same rule as last year. There he went anyway.
There he goes.
Maybe people are maybe they're watching us, Bob.
Fresher legs are definitely better to come across. This could be, if I'm looking at the board, if Elijah Mitchell's still there, that I believe that's the backup for Christian McCaffrey. But maybe not anymore. I say we don't go running back this round, even though it feels like we need one.
We're up next. Like I said, I'm leading Mims or Roman Wilson. Or taking 3 quarterbacks and going Bo Nix and then Minshew.
Why don't we take Bo Nix here? Bo Nix is a player that we've talked about before. We
drafted him a lot, normally around this spot.
Do we think it's going to be like the best pick in the world? Maybe not. But it's a player that could definitely put up some points. He will run the ball. He will throw the ball. When you're looking for a quarterback this late, and this is a type of draft that if you're drafting a quarterback this late, you don't want to get into these problems, then that speaks to why you might want to draft Josh Allen pretty early, or here's
the reason I'm up on Bo Nix. First off, Herbert's, if this was a normal redraft league, would be your starter every week, so it wouldn't matter. If this is a redraft league, I'm not drafting another quarterback after I get Herbert, flat out. But since it's best ball, the reason I like Bo Nix is, first off, if Sean Payton is good as half the people say he is, he will be super prepared. Secondly, even if he's not, Bo Nix can run the ball better than most people can think. Bo Nix has faced the adversity in his system of coming to a place that was like, everyone just hated me, I need to rebuild now. Bo Nix successfully did that. He took an Oregon program that was on the verge, made it respectable again. He made that into his own career, leaving Auburn. So there's a lot of intangibles about Bo Nix I like. Do I think that he's going to be Stroud? No. But do I think he's going to be better than Levis or Bryce Young? Yeah. All right, then that one's close. And then what do you think about either Minshew or Daniel Jones and just being done at quarterback?
No. I don't want. either of those guys.
All right, how about Mims pair him up with Bo Nix? Because when Bo Nix goes off, he throws it to Mims.
I'm okay with going with a guy like Mims. I was trying to look for another running back for us this late. It's hard to come
It's
by.
basically Herbert. I mean, that's the only real one left.
Roshan Johnson's there as well. Mims.
There's Irving, but now we're talking rookies. There's Irving in Tampa. There's Tracy in the Giants.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see him. I could be incorrect. Oh, okay. Yeah, he just went. I was going to say Darnell Mooney. That would have been a nice player to have too. You got Keaton Mitchell back on Baltimore. It could be, every couple things here and there. You got Bucky Irving, Tampa Bay, the backup there for Rashad.
Yeah, to me, it's either Irving or it's Herbert. We have Herbert rated 30 points higher, but at this point, you go with who you feel. So who are you thinking?
Let's take a stab on Bucky Irving. Let's see where that goes.
All right. All right, so for our team construction, 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 7 receivers, and a tight end. We have 5 picks remaining. Personally, I would like 2 of them to be tight ends.
Lobby says Mims here. Or we should have went Mims in the 15th, at the 15th.
Yeah, Mims might still be on the board here for the 16th.
Maybe we should, but with the way running backs were going, I mean, Bucky Irving wasn't going to come back. Is he going to be great value? I don't know. But if, they also have Chase Edmonds there down in Tampa, and that's just weird. Speaking of old players. So we'll see. So there goes Daniel Jones.
Bob, this is my ideal ending 5 picks if it can happen. Mims, Roman Wilson, Gesicki, Knox, and Billinger.
That's weird. That's a lot of tight ends.
Oh, but we're playing tight end roulette at the end.
If he's good and goes off in the playoffs, we're probably going to see a stacked Knicks team. Yeah, you probably are going to see a stacked Bo Nix team with a Marvin Mims, maybe even a Troy Franklin.
There went Roman Wilson.
Well. See, this is what I'm saying about Roman Wilson. You have Roman Wilson. You normally take him up in the 14th round. He ain't going until the 16th. So if you do like him,
he's the first pick of the 16th. So I could have got him the 15th. Is the point?
Yeah,
same with your Polk guy that you love so much.
I don't like Polk. I like Douglas, and Douglas already went 3
My bad.
rounds earlier. We also have that Dylan Laub. If the Raiders aren't going to like Samir White, Laub is still on the board as well. I believe. I didn't see him go.
But it to us.
Come on, Mims. Come on. But yeah, so Marvin Mims is another player that typically comes around in this 15th, 16th round. He could be great value if he ends up being a deep threat. Get you that return touchdown here or there if it ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, he's going to be our 8th receiver. He'd have to do a lot to crack the lineup, or a lot of bad things would otherwise have had to happen. He's the kind of guy who is a lottery pick. He might be able to do it. He has raw talent. If he can stop fumbling and have Peyton trust him, he could. But this is what these last picks are. These are just Russian roulette. And in my mind, with tight ends, once we're in the crappy ones, just take a bunch of them. This is best ball, man. Stack them up.
Yeah. Oh man.
Really, what is the difference between any of these guys right now? I get it. Isaiah Likely is probably the best of the herd, but best of the herd for a while, actually, probably the last 6 rounds. But
yeah, well, so
Gesicki, Cincinnati's going to throw touchdowns, or that team's going to fail. Knox is the second most tenured player in Buffalo.
It'd be nice if we could figure out another handcuff for a running back. It'd be nice to get another quarterback in there if there's any left. I doubt there is.
The only quarterback left is Minshew. We can get him if you want him.
Is JJ McCarthy already went?
No, McCarthy's there, but he's not starting. I'd
get it.
rather have someone to start the whole time.
Here's what I get. I get that. But if we're thinking about down the road playoffs, if Herbie were to get hurt, JJ might end up being a starter at some point this season.
And Darnold might be taking Minnesota into the playoffs. If he starts off strong, they ain't pulling him.
Good point. Fair enough point.
And there's a reason to believe they can start off strong. I mean, he doesn't have a very complicated system. Chuck the ball to J-Jeff. It'll work out.
There goes Gesicki. There goes J.J. McCarthy. So, we're talking about
Minshew, man.
As they come up. Minshew may not even have the – I mean, I don't know about that. But
there's no way Minshew doesn't start over McConnell. I've heard this fight the whole year. There's no way Minshew does not start over McConnell.
Have a good old Aiden.
Because after that, you're all in true backups.
Yeah. And you said you wanted to get – yeah.
Just Minshew. Get done with it. Bite the bullet.
Gross. That was disgusting.
Yeah, 3 picks left.
Can't believe you did that. That's okay. What else were you going to do? I can't believe Alexander Madison. People are still ranking Alexander Madison. He was the biggest disappointment last year. 1,000%. Colby Parkinson. It's Lobby's guy.
Yeah, Bob, we have to take at least 2 tight ends. We only have one on the roster.
Our QB's lobby are Herbert, Bo Nix, and Gardner Minshew. Not like amazing by any stretch of the imagination, and probably
we do a quick recap for you guys.
We're
the 6th pick overall.
Joe, we'll recap when it's all over. But
all right.
We were looking to get Purdy in the 9th or 10th round there. We gambled because the way that the quarterback board stacked up for us on the back half, it looked like we were going to get at least a Trevor Lawrence combination, and pairing up Trevor Lawrence with Justin Herbert would have been really satisfactory.
So we have Herbert ahead of Lawrence. We went out on that.
But, yeah, it didn't happen. We kind of lost out on that. There goes Michael Corley, one player that, we've gotten some good hits about. So you're saying tight end? You want to take a tight end here?
I think we're taking 2 tight ends in a row. I think I'm going Knox and Bellinger, and then we'll just take best on the board for the last pick.
All right. There goes 10.
That'll give us 3 tight ends, 3 of everything. I think we have a very strong roster. There went Knox.
There goes Demarcus Robinson.
I know I get Bellinger next year, or next league, or next one. Higbee or Woods, man.
What?
Higbee or Woods?
Woods as in which Woods?
Indy Colts tight end.
I'd take Woods. I'd take Jelani Woods. And
then Bellinger will come around the next round.
Didn't love that at all. These are some whack.
Knox looks so much better right there.
Knox would look good. I mean, Keith Mitchell, that could be a player that could be looked at. Zay Jones going over to Arizona.
All right, so I just want to hit this real quick notion on Keenan Mitchell. Everyone has said the backup Baltimore running back has been the best thing ever. And then when they actually get in the game, they never produce. Mitchell had, 5 quarters last year and then did nothing else?
Yeah, but we love those 5 quarters.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. It is such a hard system to get your timing with Lamar right. And if you don't get the ball because he takes it. It's not like replacing Jonathan Taylor where you're behind a great offensive line and it's the same way you've been getting handoffs your whole life. That Baltimore running game has more intricacies than people give it credit for. Just a little side note.
A little side note there. Yeah. So while I'm not in love with this specific draft so far, we'll have to read.
You were in love with it till the 15th round.
In a way,
at that point we already either won it or lost it.
There's a lot of stuff that I like. Okay, so you want to go a third tight end here in Bellinger?
Yeah, you go Bellinger. Just get it done with.
And then I say the last round. We think about if they're still there, a guy like Trey Sermon in Indy. If Taylor were to get hurt again, he seems to have the pathway to running back 2 numbers. A.T. Perry came on last year as a wide receiver for New Orleans, if we believe in New Orleans to be successful.
I also love McMillan, the rookie in Tampa.
The rookie McMillan in Tampa, if we don't think that Tampa's going to fall off.
Well, no, I think he's going to take Godwin's job eventually.
Take a look at that guy, Robbie. It would be nice. I think it would be nice to have Baltimore running back Rasheen Ali. Okay. We'll have to keep an eye on him.
McMillan just went, didn't he? Yeah.
Oh, man, that ain't good.
So, Bob, still, best player on the board.
Oh, you took Bellinger. You took Bellinger. Okay.
This is rookie time, but Tutu Atwell still on the board here. Khalif Raymond, guy we look at. Noah Brown we look at. There's also Mayer, the tight end in Vegas.
Yeah, but I think it'd be, I don't know. We could get somebody to contribute that's going to come in and make some plays. We could go after a guy like, there goes.
I think Tutu Atwell or Khalif Raymond would be the direction to lean. Preferably Atwell.
How many wide receivers are we saying?
Our roster construction, 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 receivers, 3 tight ends.
I'd like to take a chance on A.T. Perry, I think. Speaking of New Orleans, I don't really like taking New Orleans players, but
there's your pick.
Yeah, give him a chance. Yeah, I don't really like walking out of this draft specifically. And we'll make it so that you can see everybody who's watching here. The 5 running backs that we have, love the top 2. Absolutely love the top 2.
The top 2 are the 2 to get on the field. So
again, Mostert, I'm a little bit hot and cold on, but I think that he can throw up a couple good names here.
Well, Bob, with the exception of our quarterback, our entire starting roster is in our top 40 in our rankings. So when you say I keep pinning myself into spots, it's because how can you not get 9 guys that are in your top 40? You can't pass up on that.
I get it, and we can discuss what I tend to not like about that in a moment. But if you could get that up on,
we're kind of running out of time. We already hit the 6 o'clock hour.
So we just want to break down what we just drafted. So if you could,
yeah, it's reloaded. DraftKings fun.
Yeah, and make our heads like a little bit smaller so we can just kind of put that into the big board screen there. So starting out pretty decent there with Breece Hall and Travis Etienne. Great start. Would have loved to have a wide receiver. Would have loved to have Amon-Ra St. Brown, but we just couldn't pass up Breece Hall.
You can't.
At that value over a guy like Jamar Chase. No matter how much we wanted a wide receiver, Breece Hall at that value is incredible. Coming back around, the only wide receiver that I would really consider at the 2-7 is Devontae Adams. But again, I wouldn't want him over Travis Etienne. So that's the kind of the debate that you have to have there. So Travis Etienne is our guy. We're off to a great start. 2 excellent running backs. Coming back around in the 3rd round, Deebo Samuel is usually our guy in the 3rd round if we've started 2 running backs early. And typically speaking, if Isaiah Pacheco was there, we would have taken Isaiah Pacheco. But with Deebo there, it's nice to have a threat on the ground and through the air. If you would have watched us last year, Deebo wasn't a guy we were looking at into the season because we weren't sure what was going to happen with Brock Purdy. And now that we know how they're being used, Deebo is absolutely electric. Zay is one of those players that, could be affected by the return of Mark Andrews almost directly, could be definitely affected by Derrick Henry. But the good thing about Zay Flowers is that Zay Flowers was just one of those guys that absorbed
Produced.
a lot of volume.
Mhm.
While that volume might not be great for standard leagues, it was perfectly fine for things like best ball and PPR. And we would rather have him over George Pickens and over Diggs and over Moore and Cooper. It'd have been nice if Cooper would have came back to us. I know Joe doesn't love Cooper.
I don't.
Again, Evan Ingram is usually a pick that we like to make in the 5th round. Again,
It gives you so much stability to your lineup.
Tight end 2 coming off last year, ranked as the tight end 8 on a lot of big boards out there. He's ranked as our tight end 3, and getting him in the 5th round. You could probably see that Ingram was going to go in that same vein as Kyle Pitts. Would we take Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Ferguson? Yeah, of course we'd take those guys. But Ingram in the 5th round, we did sacrifice a guy like Tank Dell. We did sacrifice a Jaden Reed type of player. Would our roster have been pretty strong with one of those players?
But getting Ingram is just concrete. You don't got to play these
now
risk on tight ends crap.
Now with Ingram there, coming down again, getting Mostert, and like you said, Lobby, you don't normally want to invest in 32-year-old running backs, but when we look at Mostert's career numbers here, he only has a total of 674 career attempts. So, that's old. He's old. But again, those attempts have come a lot of those attempts have come in the last 2 years, and he's learned behind very good running backs. And, I think
the other part is he is not required to ball out on our roster. He is a luxury pick who has potential of giving you 12 touchdowns.
Now, it would have been really nice if Zach Moss would have been there on the comeback. We love Zach Moss. We also love James Conner. But we do love Ladd McConkey more. Ladd McConkey, we think, is going to finish the season in the top 5 of wide receivers.
I think he's going to be the number 1 rookie receiver.
We could be definitely wrong about that. But, when it comes down to it, getting a guy in the 7th round who's going to probably absorb a good deal of Keenan Allen or
Keenan Allen. That's who he's going to get.
This is a no-brainer pick, especially seeing as a guy like Keenan Allen just also went in the same round. Calvin Ridley, a person that we're not a huge fan of Calvin Ridley this year. Coming back around at the Keon Coleman round, it might have been a good idea to take Brock Purdy. But with Keon Coleman, it solidifies the fact that, we are going to be starting a good portion of these rookie wide receivers and taking the chance. We have 2 great starters there. Ladd McConkey as our 3rd wide receiver, and then in a flex role, having Keon Coleman, that could be really, really nice. Jackson Smith, everybody's digging on Jackson Smith last year.
He's stepping his roll up, man. He's going to have a great, great bump this year.
Had a little bit of a fall off, but in terms of wide receivers, you can't go wrong with Jackson Smith in the 9th or 10th round, especially considering things around him. Brian Thomas is definitely an unknown. Jordan Addison has the quarterback situation. Jordan Addison is a good player. Jameson Williams, it's just an individual unknown. We know that Detroit will really ball out, but, it is what it is there. Then taking Herbert. We had to take Herbert there as the last line of defense.
On quarterback, yeah.
Maybe we could have waited to 11, but I don't think Herbert would have been there at 11. And who we would have taken would have been a guy like Zeke. Would it have made our roster stronger? Probably not.
No.
And so Herbert was our guy there. Taking Kendre Miller, we were thinking about taking Cooks or Shaheed, where we took Miller, but seeing as we only had 3 running backs, and running backs were really going off the board drastically fast. This is normally a round where we would have liked Cooks, or we would have liked Shaheed. Usually we would
or Myers.
Myers as well. That would have really helped us solidify that position a little bit more. But coming back around and getting Jerry Jeudy, a guy that I had a turnaround on a couple weeks ago. Last week specifically, if Deshaun Watson is going to ball and he's in there, Judy's going to get targets. It's going to happen. Coming back around, taking what I think is the best player in the wide receiver room for Green Bay in Wicks.
And we just disagree about that, but at 13th pick, I'm willing to roll the dice on it.
It helps us in regards to, looking there. I do like DeMario Douglas too, but again, taking a player on an explosive offense, you can't really go wrong with taking a player, especially in best ball in a team like that. Coming back around, we need another quarterback. It would have been nice to get another wide receiver or running back there, but we didn't need a quarterback. Quarterback's flying off the
board. At this point, we've already had 7 receivers. We didn't really need another one.
You always could use more. Bo Nix, he is who he is. We'll see what happens in the season. Coming back then, right. Bucky Irving, maybe Tracy would have been a good choice there, but Bucky Irving, if everything goes the way it should go in Tampa, then Bucky Irving will be useless to us.
That's true.
But if things go awry, we could benefit from that. That's right. Definitely. Tampa has a decent enough offensive line that we could benefit from that. Marvin Mims stacking it with Bo Nix. As you can see, we have 2 mini stacks in Herbert and McConkey and Mims and Nix, which is pretty nice. We wanted to get that J.K. Dobbins in there, even though he's been injured. It definitely, but Wicks, I'm happy with him. Taking Mims definitely secured the room a little bit more. We have a lot of flux in that room, but it's okay. Minshew on the comeback, while we don't really, Joe is in love with Minshew. I am not, but
always have been.
He showed out last year when he had the chance in Indy, and Aiden O'Connell was not a good player. So Minshew to Devontae Adams would be elite.
Yes.
Round 18 to 19, taking a chance on 2 tight ends. We have Evan Ingram. If Evan Ingram doesn't get hurt, Evan Ingram's not really leaving that lineup at all. Taking 2 chances in teams. Indy should have a chance to be in the red zone a lot. New York Giants probably not, but we'll see what happens with Bellinger. He did prove that he has some talent on the field. And then in the last round, taking a stab at a guy like A.T. Perry. You can see, people taking Tucker Kraft, Colby Parkinson, also Guerrero from San Francisco. A.T. Perry came off at the end of last season, looked pretty decent in the amount of time that he was given. Will Carr use him? We don't know, but if he does and he pops off for a 20-point game, 30-point game, he's probably going to crack our lineup. So, can't really lose in that regard.
So we thank everyone for watching. We are going to be doing our team breakdowns division by division. And we will be with you again here next Tuesday, giving you all the answer. Go check out the AFC South in our rankings right now.
Welcome